Stocks, bonds, ETFs, straight out of downtown Chicago. This is Zacks Market Edge.
Welcome to Zacks Market Edge, the podcast about investing in your life. I'm your host, Tracy Reinick, and this week I'm here solo once again to talk about some hidden gem AI stocks. How do you find them? What are they? And should you be buying these stocks into the end of the year here in 2025? Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a basic podcast that was just 3 top stocks to buy for the end of 2025. And one of those was NVIDIA. And some of you complained, oh, NVIDIA, we already know about NVIDIA. No surprises there. And so I thought I would kind of poke around on the Zacks Rank system and see if I could find some other hidden gem type of stocks that are also in the AI trade, because that is still where the action is here in 2025. And I'm expecting it to be there in 2026. There simply is too much demand for the AI on the technology side with the chips, and also on the infrastructure side still to build out the data centers and everything that entails, as well as how we're going to power those data centers. So this whole ecosystem of AI is still really hot. And then there are the companies making the products. I just talked about one of these in the top stock picks of the week. And so those companies are starting to make real money and see some good earnings off of AI products now. So there's a lot going on with AI, and it is one of the few industries or areas. Is it its own industry? Not really, but I'm kind of making it into one. It's its own area that remains red hot into 2026. Despite all the concerns about how it's all going to be paid for and about how we're going to power it all. But with that in mind, companies are out there trying to come up with solutions to those questions, maybe not on the how we're going to pay for it side, but how we're going to power it all. And so a lot of companies are stepping up and moving into this area on the AI side. A lot of them old economy type of companies in the construction side and the utility side of things. So how do we go about finding these companies? If NVIDIA is so obvious, how do we find the ones that are hidden gems? I took that task on this week, and I started with the Zacks Rank. It is our secret sauce here at Zacks to find companies that are doing something well right now. Remember, the Zacks Rank is number ones are the best. Those are the strong buys, all the way down to number 5s, which are the strong sells. And it's made up like a curve. So 5% are the strong buys, 5% are the strong sells, with everyone in between, and the biggest amount being the holds in the middle. And nothing wrong with the holds. It's like the old grade used to be for the C. It's just kind of, your stuff, but it's not great. It's not bad. And remember, the Zacks Rank can change daily. The computer algorithm is run daily because it's based on analyst earnings revisions. So what does that mean? It means when a company reports and the analysts raise or lower, or maybe don't do anything with their earnings estimates for that year and possibly the next year as well, that goes into the Zacks Rank system, and it tabulates where the analysts are bullish and where they are bearish. And the Zacks Rank is a short-term recommendation of just 1 to 3 months, because that rank changes or can change often throughout the year, and especially during earnings season when the analysts are going to be adjusting those earnings estimates based on what those earnings reports are saying. So if a company beats and raises and that's above consensus, then that's when you normally see the analysts raising their earnings estimates and you see a higher Zacks rank of the number ones, strong buys, or the number two, which are buys. Now, combined with the number ones and number twos, you can have over 800 companies usually at any given time. But the number ones are just over 200 companies, usually between 220 and 250 companies fall within the top strong buy category, and the same with the strong sells. That's a very small number as well. So how do you use this Zacks rank system to find these top hidden gems and the Zacks ranks? Well, it's not that easy, actually. You would hope or wish that there could be a category that's just like AI stocks and number one ranks, and you would just go to the chart and there they all would be. But instead, the Zacks ranks are divided up by industries and sectors within those industries. And so you can search by the industry to get those Zacks number ones and the sectors, but you can't just do it by AI because the AI is in many different industries, as I just recounted, with the data centers, the chip side, utilities, construction, and on and on. And then the product side, you could have software. It's a lot. So I took this task on, as I mentioned, and I just took the list of Zacks number one ranked stocks and started looking at what was on it to try to determine, are these AI stocks or not? And I stayed away from the NVIDIAs of the world, the obvious ones that we already know are AI stocks. And I looked for those that maybe are in some other industry that we're not really thinking could be AI, but it turns out many of them are. So you shouldn't be surprised that a lot of the stocks on the number one rank list right now have some kind of AI component to them. Well, there's actually two industries showing up on here, those that have this AI component and gold miners. So those are your two options right now. There's a smattering of others as well, but a lot of them have this AI component because those are the ones where there's true revenue growth and earnings growth, and they're beating and they're raising, and the analysts are behind and the analysts are going in to raise. So let's take a look at the Zacks rank list real quick on Zacks.com. So I hope many of you are watching this podcast, but I'll try to describe it as best I can for those who are only listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, or wherever you've subscribed to the podcast for just the audio. But if you want to see the visuals, go to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, just put in Zacks Investment Research and subscribe there to get all of our videos, including top stock picks of the week, which also uses the Zacks rank to search for those stocks. Okay, so I'm sharing Zacks.com. Whoops, it might help if I actually had it out. Okay, so we have Zacks, and on Zacks, let's start from the beginning, shall we? If I can get my cursor to work correctly here. Okay, so we are on the Zacks page. How do you find the Zacks rank stocks? You can scroll down and you could have one that's just given to you for free here. The bull of the day is always a Zacks number one ranked stock. And today, when I'm recording this, it's RS Mining, ticker ARMN, which is a junior gold miner. I happen to have wrote this bull of the day. It does change every day to one of our Zacks strategists here will be writing this article. And you also have the bear of the day, which is the number fives, the strong sells. And here's a little secret tip for you. The number fives, yes, they are the strong sells, but a lot of times there might be something good kind of going on in there. And I do recommend clicking on it because I've gotten a lot of stock ideas off of reading the Zacks number 5 Rank Bear of the Day articles and even just writing them myself. This one is Robert Half, ticker RHI, which is one of the staffing companies. And for the first time in 3 years, they actually saw revenue grow quarter to quarter and not decline. It has been on the decline every quarter for 3 years. So is that the bottom for the staffing, or is this a fake out? Is the worst over? The stock is at 5-year lows. But that's the bear of the day. On the bull of the day, RS Mining, we are seeing the analysts raising estimates there as the price of gold remains elevated and they're increasing their gold production. So that is what's going to get you the Zacks number 1 rank. So when I said that there's a lot of gold miners with the ranks, I wasn't lying. There are a lot because those estimates are on the rise. But we want the AI stocks. Neither one of those is giving it to us. So I can get those if I click down here. You can get the whole list if you click on this link, which is view all Zacks number 1 rank strong buys. So clicking on that, you do have to be a premium member to get the list, but I am, so I'm sharing it all with you. And you can see it just brings it up. This one also is including the style scores. We don't care so much about those. We only care about the number ones. But this will give us, just going to scroll down. Yeah. You can see the overall VGM style scores over here on the right column, but we are just concerned with the number 1 ranks, and that's what this gives us. There is no column for it because it's all of these are Zacks number 1 ranks. And it usually will give it to you on the date added automatically. So again, it can change daily. You're getting new companies reporting earnings right now during earnings season, so it will be very active right now. And you can see on the date added right here, I'm recording this on November 11th, and a bunch of stocks have been added on November 11th. So these might have been companies that just recently reported and the estimates are being raised. As you see, I'm scrolling down, a lot of companies, but we just came off of a week where 1,500 companies reported. So these are going to be the ones that beat and raised, and something good is going on there. Wow, even just scrolling down. I'm scrolling. So it goes pretty far down that we've been adding a couple dozen companies to the Zacks number 1 rank list on November 11th, just on that day. So they come on, they can drop off. Some can stay on for a month, 2 months, 3 months until the next earnings report. That could be because they have an investor day or they give preliminary earnings out and that's better than expected. And then those estimates are revised higher. So then they have the Zacks number 1 rank again. There are a couple of other little tidbits with the rank. It's not just, they're revised higher, so it gets the rank. It has to be the analysts all in agreement. So normally you don't see many estimates being cut on these particular companies. You see them being raised and raised only. So it's very bullishness on the analyst side to get the number 1 rank. Also, a lot of it has to do with magnitude of the raises. If a bunch of analysts are raising only a penny or 2 cents, that's not as exciting for the Zacks rank as someone who's raising 50 cents or, even more, like $1. A big magnitude raise on the yearly estimates are a huge green flag for the number 1 rank. So just scrolling down, you can see on the newly added ones, they're in very different areas. And of course, again, none of these say, I'm an AI stock, and we don't really know. The only ones we know for sure are these gold miners. And you can see even just today, being added are several gold miners on here because they're all reporting now and it's better than expected and the estimates are going up. So what did I do? I continued to scroll down and I literally just took a look at some companies in areas I thought might have something to do with AI, and I looked behind the scenes. I brought up their investor relations page and I looked at the recent earnings, which is what we're getting right now. And I looked to see, are they talking about the data centers? Are they talking about powering the data centers? Are they mentioning AI at all, but as influencing their quarter and their year? And so that's all I did. I scrolled down and I took a deeper look. So let's dive into the stocks I found and what's going on with them. Why do they have the Zacks rank? What makes it so bullish with the strong buy right now? These are some hidden gems. Other than one out of the three, I did not know anything about the other two. So, we'll be discovering them together, and let's just dive right in. So the first one is Everest Construction Group. Ticker is E as in Edward, C as in Charles, G as in George. Everest. And it's not Everest. It's Everus. And I'm bringing that up on Zacks.com. And this is a Zacks number one rank, as we know. It has a style score, VGM, which is the overall score of a B, D for value, A for growth, A for momentum. So I'm assuming by looking at this, it's not very cheap. And scrolling down, it has only gone public since 2024, it looks like, on this chart, the price consensus and surprise. It's had a couple big beats, and now shares are at all-time highs here. And you can see on the price and on the consensus side that the consensus is surging higher. And we're going to look at the detailed earnings estimates in one moment. Since I didn't know anything about them, I did go in and look. Obviously, construction, I figured that they were somehow involved in maybe constructing on the data center side. They do have an electrical and mechanical group, and that was up 42.9% in the third quarter on the revenue side to $767.3 million. So they said it was due to higher workloads in the commercial and renewable end markets, particularly continued growth in the data center submarket. So ding, ding, data center submarket, renewables, electrical and mechanical. This is on the power side, the electrical side. And so, yes, this is where things are booming. Market cap of just 5.1 billion. So that is mid cap, but it's on the smaller side. Scrolling down, I'm looking at the sales and EPS growth rates. So for this year, sales expected to be up 26%, earnings up 16, and then next year up 3.1 only on sales, earnings up 7.4. But I have a feeling not many people are following it on the analyst side, given that, it's fairly recent company that's gone public. So, and it's not a big cap. But looking at number of analysts, we have two for this year and next year. So, like I said, not as many following it. Revisions, both are up. And nobody has cut. So we have 100% agreement. The Zacks rank does look at that. But look at what has happened in the last 7 days since this earnings report. We're now looking for this year for 359. It was at 294. This is the big magnitude change I was talking about. This is what the Zacks rank loves and what it uncovers. So not surprising, the Zacks rank is working really good on this company right now. And then next year, a little bit of earnings growth, but it's jumped up to 379 from 314. But the analysts are kind of behind on a lot of these infrastructure type plays. They're just underestimating how big the build out is, how much business is coming in, and they're trying to catch up and keep up, but they're not really able to do it. Scrolling down, you can see the value scorecard here. PE is at 28. Price to sales is attractive at 1.47. We have a price to book a little stretched at 8.98, but I do like the price to sales because it is growing that sales side pretty quickly. What else should we look at? We are going to look at those detailed earnings estimates because this is where it's going to show us what is happening behind the scenes with the analysts. So I always scroll down to agreement first, even though we did see that on the homepage. And this is where you can see everybody's raising, nobody's lowering because that's how good it was. And then I always scroll down to kind of just see where the consensus trend has been. So the homepage showed us that it's gone from 359, from the 294 to 359 suddenly. But look at 90 days ago, it was at 252. So more than $1 increase in just 3 months. That is a hot industry and something, really good is going on there. That's where we're getting the Zacks rank. So I'm liking all of this. We've got 3 big beats in a row now, massive beats. And so again, the analysts have to catch up on these AI trades. This is one, on the construction side, it is under industry, building products, miscellaneous. So when I was scrolling down on this, I was like, building products. Yeah, maybe there might be something in this that has to do with AI. So that's why I clicked on it to do a deeper dive. And it's in the bottom 26% of the industry rank. So that's not all that good. But some of these AI plays are in these kind of nebulous categories on the industries that aren't very obvious. And they're in these kind of old economy categories. That's where I would put this one, building products miscellaneous. That's probably some kind of old economy thing. But old economy is the new economy now, and that's where you want to be. So this is Everest Construction Group, ticker ECG. It is at highs. You might want to wait for a little bit of a pullback, but the stock isn't that expensive here, even on a PE basis or price to sales basis. So I'm liking Everest. I'm going back to the quote page real quick. I don't think it paid. No dividend is listed. So no dividend with Everest. Watch those free cash flows with some of these. Watch to see if they're growing margins on the construction side, because that is key to, the earnings growth and on the possibility of share buybacks or dividends if the cash flow really expands here. So Everest Construction Group is that one. Then let's move on to one that you may already know, Comfort Systems. Ticker FIX, F as in Frank, I, X as in X-ray. It is obviously a number one. It's trading near $1,000. So I know a lot of you are like, but Tracy, it's nearly $1,000. I can only buy one share. But we need to take a look at it. Still a Zacks number one rank. And maybe it's come off its recent highs a little bit. It is on the heating and cooling. Obviously, it's mechanical, electrical, modular, and plumbing systems. The number one rank, F for value. So I'm getting a little bit of a Debbie Downer, but we'll see. A for growth, C for momentum, C overall. But it's got that A for growth. That's what we're into. Look at that chart. Very beautiful, up and to the right. All the earnings beats going back to 2022 was the last miss. And 23, this big beat right here, the second beat in April was after, that was right at the beginning of the AI revolution. That was NVIDIA coming out and saying, we're getting this huge orders and we can't keep up. And then it's been kind of off to the races ever since. It did have a sell-off going into Liberation Day. That was a big buying opportunity, but now it's busting out and it is near its all-time highs again. 34 billion market cap. So this is not as secret as the other one, Everest, but I don't think as many people are focused in on the heating and the cooling side of the AI trade. So even though it's busting out as well to new highs, I still consider this to be a secret AI stock and a hidden gem, so to speak. They do pay a dividend, $2 a share, because the stock price is so high now, it's just yielding 0.2%. So you're not really buying it for that, but it's a little added bonus. Why not? And they just did recently raise that dividend, actually. So we have $2, but now it's going to be 60 cents a quarter. So that is an extra 40 cents, and it'll be $2.40 going forward. Still a low yield, but we all love getting a little bit extra free money. And so it's nice to see that their cash flow is allowing them to raise that quarterly dividend. If you are buying this for the dividend, for whatever reason, it's good for those buying by the close of business on November 13th. By the time you're listening to this, that deadline will have passed. So you're going to have to wait until next quarter on this one. But nice to see them raising it and substantially raising it. They had operating cash flow of over $550 million in the quarter. Revenue was up and for third quarter at $2.45 billion versus $1.81 a year ago. Their backlog is a new record, over $9 billion for the first time on the backlog. It's at $9.38 billion versus $5.68 billion as of September 30th, 2024. So within the last year, up almost $3 billion on just the backlog. But if we're getting 400 to 500 billion spent on the AI build out this year alone, some of that money is going to go into the heating and the cooling and companies like Comfort Systems. So scrolling down some more and looking at the sales EPS growth rates, the sales side has just been tremendous the last couple of years, double digits. This year, expecting 24.4. Next year, another 14.7. Look at the earnings. They grew earnings by 67% last year, expecting 80.2 this year, another 16.3 next year. Scrolling down again, what is happening with the analysts? We only have 3 on this big cap company, 3 analysts. Revisions are all up, nobody lowering. That's where you're getting the Zacks #1 rank, the best of the best. Nobody is saying something bad is going on with this company right now. And then on the changes, we have $26.31 now, up from $23 before that earnings report. So $3.31 change. But look at next year. 30.61 expected for next year, up from 25.27. So that's significant bullishness for next year as well. And then let's take a look at those detailed estimates to kind of see where the analysts are getting super bullish and how long it's been going on. So much like Everest, 26.31, but it was 22.73 just 90 days ago. So it has been moving higher slowly and now quickly after this earnings report. Because again, they're underestimating the amount of spending, these backlogs, and what is actually going on with the build out. The money is there right now. It might have a question of in the future, how much more money will be there if, we've got to continue with the build out in years to come, which I'm sure we will. But that's a problem for then and not as much a problem for now, but you'll start to see it maybe in 26 or maybe in 27. Let's take a look at the price to consensus chart. Let's see if we got any 27s. No 27s, unless I'm missing it. No, I don't see. Sometimes it's kind of tucked in here because it's just newly out. So we don't yet really have 27 showing up on here. But you can see analysts trying to keep up the whole last 5 years, essentially, on Comfort Systems. Let's take a look at valuations. It did have an F on the style score. Not surprising. We're not expecting AI to be dirt cheap anymore. We all know about it. But what is going on with, PEs and whatnot with Comfort Systems? 37 times. That's not as bad as some others in the AI trade, but that is stretched. Price to book at 15, price to sales at 4.1. So these are a little bit higher than what we saw for Everest, which is cheaper and a little more attractive on the valuation side. But we are buying the growth. The growth is there on both of these. So I'm still liking these. I'm still have them on my strong buy. They're Zacks number ones, strong buys heading into the end of this year here in 2025. If you can get them on any pullbacks, then do so. And we always do get the pullbacks, especially on the AI trade. We'll get the nervousness, and some of these will pull back a bit, and those will be some nice buys. So that's Comfort Systems USA, ticker FIX. And then I scrolled down the list some more, wondering what else I might find. And I stumbled across a company called Aliant, ticker ALNT. Probably saying that wrong. Aliant. No, maybe not. We all know I have troubles with my name pronunciations. ALNT, again, is the ticker. Zacks number one rank. Style score of A overall for the VGM. C for value, so maybe they're not as expensive. B for growth. A for momentum. They actually are in electronics, miscellaneous components. I saw several of these stocks on the list, the electronics miscellaneous components. That is kind of an area you should be looking at this industry. It's in the top 16% now. So that kind of tells you as well, because the industry rank is based on how many are in it that have the top ranks. And so then it moves up on the industry rank. So to get in the top 16, it's got to have some number ones. And if it's got the number ones and it's not in gold mining, then it's got to have something to do with the AI trade, because that's where the beat and the raises and the money is going in. So, you can click on these links. I am going to click on the industry because I am kind of curious now what's going on there. And you can see it does compare it to the S&P 500, how much better it's doing than the S&P 500, at least year to date. And even over the last year, it's kind of running in tandem over the last 3 years, though it says here 80% total return for this industry versus 78 on the S&P 500 over 3 years. But look at year to date, 54.4 versus 17.3. That's the AI influence. And then scrolling down, we have 5 stocks that are Zacks number one ranks in this industry and 3 that are number twos. So all of these stocks are where I would be clicking on the number ones and number twos to see if there's any AI plays going on with some of these. And even in the number threes, I would look to see maybe they haven't reported earnings yet. And so that's why they're just kind of hanging out at the number threes. It does show related industries. This is kind of interesting. Top peers, electronics connectors, top 1%. Semiconductor equipment, wafer fabrication, top 1%. Electronics manufacturing services, top 2%. Semiconductors radio frequency, top 4. Communication infrastructure, that could be important, top 4%. So if you want to dig around and find some other hidden gems, this is also where I would start. So a lot of great ways to look for these AI hidden gems without actually running some kind of screen, just by using the Zacks rank and then looking at these industry ranks as well as the individual company ranks, can give you a lot of areas and industries that maybe you should go dig around in. So I did that for Aliant. Let's get back to Aliant now. Aliant. Maybe it doesn't want to sound like alien. Aliant. ALNT again. And so I'm scrolling down. I'm looking at the price and consensus. And we have full 5 years of data on this one. And it is near its 5-year highs here. And you can see the earnings up and to the right, even just most recently. So it was kind of stagnant here, analysts getting a little more bullish, and then bang, they have their earnings and analysts are like, whoops, we're behind and we need to raise. So they have been raising. We do have 27 on this one, and you can see it is also looking bullish and a huge raise there for 27. So market cap of just 891 million on Aliant, and that is a small cap, a genuine small cap. And so the Zacks Rank can uncover a lot of these smaller companies that you maybe have never heard of. And that's also why I like to use it and do these deep dives. Dividend, they are paying 12 cents. So that's yielding only just 0.23%. So you're not really buying this for the dividend, but nice to see a small cap with the free cash flow to get it. I'm looking at it to see they did have double-digit revenue growth in their third quarter and a record gross margin of 33.3%. So what do? They're global engineering and manufacturing. And so shouldn't be surprised that they're in some areas that are on the data center side. So they said demand remained healthy across industrial applications, particularly power quality solutions for data center infrastructure. They also are on the defense and medical application side, like mobility, motion controls, and power technologies is really their three main areas. So on the medical applications, they do wheelchairs, but also surgical tools. In the quarter, industrial market revenue was their best performer, up 20%, as strong demand for power solutions in HVAC and data center really drove that segment. Aerospace was up 2%. Medical market was up 6% on solid demand for surgical instruments, offset by softness in their medical mobility solutions. So as you can see, this company is a little more diverse in where it's getting its business from. Revenue up overall 11% to 138.7 million in the quarter. They did reduce their debt, so they're using some of their cash to do that. So they reduced their debt balance by 33.9 million on a year-to-date basis. I love seeing companies that are booming, also paying down some of that debt. And then let's take a look at what it looks like. So sales side for this year up just 1.5%. But look at their earnings up 34.2, and then sales up just 4.5 for next year. But earnings expected to be up another 20.5. It helps get those margins up, obviously. Keep costs down. Now, they did say one of their risks, they do use the rare earth materials. So they are having challenges, as we know, sourcing those and the cost of those. So that is one of the risks in a company like Aliant. So keep that in mind. That's why you need to go into these earnings reports, listen to conference calls, see what's actually going on. But we have the Zacks number one rank. We have 3 analysts on the small cap company. 1 is higher, and none are lower. So we just have 1 estimate higher this time. Full year looking for 202 now, up from 196. So a little more muted on the growth there on the earnings side on the estimates. But next year looking for 242 up from 202. So that's a nice bounce there for next year. Trend of the earnings estimates are higher here for the full years. And that's what we like to see. We like to see some of that momentum and that trend. Now let's look at the detailed earnings estimates, get a little bit more nuanced view when you look here. And as I always do, I scroll down. So 2 are higher in the last 7 days after that earnings report. Some of the analysts were raising though into the earnings, but 2 are higher now into that report. And maybe we'll get a third one. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for the analysts to roll out their new revisions, but slowly and growing that earnings up. And you can see some very nice earnings surprises over the last 4 quarters. So the Zacks Rank does take that into account as well on the algorithm. So the only thing that isn't quite as bullish is on the sales growth side, but Aliant has many different divisions. But the good thing about that is if you're looking for an AI play that isn't 100% AI, that might give you some stability in some of these other areas like aerospace or the medical area, then this type of company is what you should be looking at. PE is at 26, so not as expensive as Comfort Systems. Let's look at the various fundamental ratios, and price to book is at 3.03 to be exact. I do look at 3 and under for classic value. And then price to sales, 1.67. That's pretty low too. So obviously the street was valuing or still is valuing this company at a lower valuation rate. It has less sales growth. And so you should be paying a little bit less for it. But now suddenly it's got this AI business that has taken off. And so you are going to get that AI business a little bit cheaper here because this is kind of hidden amongst of its other areas. And so people might not be paying as much attention to what a company like Aliant is doing. Although, as I mentioned, we are getting, we have had quite a run in the stock. Let's look at the price of consensus just by itself. And it has busted out, but it is a little bit off of those highs now. Because they probably said the magic word here in 2025, which is data center. And so, or power, those are two of the magic words, power and data center. And so I would see if you could get even a bigger pullback here. The stock isn't overly expensive, but these are the stocks I want to be in as we head into the end of this year, into 2026. This one is busting out on this new mega business and they're growing the gross margin. A lot of the AI business I've seen with the construction companies and on the electrical side and power generation, their margins are rising because this is higher margin work than some of their other types of business. And just given the demand, they can charge more for it. So they are willing to do so. If you want it, you got to pay for it. So they're willing to do it. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these AI names. And that's why a lot of these smaller companies that are on the infrastructure side are showing up as Zacks #1 ranks now. Do a deeper dive on this list. I know I'm going to, because this was just, me scrolling down and picking a few names. I did look at a couple of others that turned out not to be AI stocks in the end when I took a deeper dive, but more were AI stocks than weren't when I did this self-done screen on the AI stocks. But use all the tools you can. Use the Zacks Rank to find these top AI names, because rising earning estimates right now are signaling both with the gold miners that gold is hot and on the infrastructure side that something new is going on in the building and building products, construction, power, utilities, electronics. What was it? Electronics - miscellaneous components, HVAC. All of these areas are seeing big growth on earnings, and the analysts trying to keep up, and it's showing up in the Zacks Rank now. So let me recap the stock tickers again. We had Everest, which is ticker ECG. We had Comfort Systems, that's the heating and cooling side for AI, Fix, FIX. We had Aliant, one of the two, ticker ALNT. We also talked about two that were just the bull and bear of the days. So I'll throw those out too. We had, I'm going back to confirm on Zacks.com, we had bull of the day, Aris Mining, the junior gold miner, ticker ARMN, bear of the day, Robert Half. RHI, you might want to just keep that one on your watch list. It is at 5-year lows, but those earnings are going the other way. Down, down, down still for the earnings. So until that turns around, we're not going to get the Zacks #1 ranks and the bull of the day for the staffing companies. But use all your tools to find these AI hidden gems, because I know I am. And I'll be bringing you more of them as we get into the end of this year. I am going to take a look at the AI infrastructure stocks I have talked about on prior episodes that aren't these. These are new ones, but some of the bigger names that have been out there for a while. And I'm going to cover what they said in their earnings reports and if those are still buys, and much, much more. So be sure to subscribe, as I mentioned earlier. Get us anywhere you can get podcasts, including on Apple. Get our YouTube channel, and I'll see you again next week with some more stocks.